You know, if you go back far enough, long before the mountains, the oceans, or even the sun, there was just nothing. This vast yawning gap of complete and absolute silence was called Ginnungagap. To the far south of this void, there was Muspelheim, a terrifying place of screaming fire. To the far north, there was Niflheim, a frozen realm of biting frost and ice. When that heat from the south met the cold ice, the universe took its first breath. It wasn't a sudden big bang, it was a slow, steaming thaw that built the foundations of reality. And this steaming crucible of creation is precisely where our epic mythology story begins. A steam. At the very center of all these newly formed realms stands Yggdrasil. This is the legendary world tree, which you can think of as a cosmic highway. Its vast wooden branches are so immense they hold up the golden heavens. But what of its roots? Those deep roots dive far down into dark places you would never want to visit. Deep down, the tree's roots drink from Mimir's well, the source of all wisdom. This is where Odin sacrificed his own eye for a single draught of knowledge. And there are other creatures living on the tree like Ratatoskr, the gossiping squirrel running, or Nidhogg, the monstrous dragon gnawing at the deepest roots, constantly threatening its stability. The tree is alive and breathing, keeping the 9 realms from drifting away into the... If the tree falls, everything falls, for it is the spine that connects every living soul. Way up top, nested in the highest golden branches of the tree, sits Asgard. This celestial fortress is the home of the Aesir gods, the legendary warriors and kings. And there, sitting upon his high stone throne, is still Father Odin. Odin is always watching and listening, with his 2 black ravens perched on his shoulder. Connecting Asgard to the other realms is Bifrost, the shimmering rainbow bridge burning. It is guarded day and night by the ever-watchful Heimdall. But he is not the only god up here. Right next door is Vanaheim, the home of the Vanir. If Asgard is a cold stone fortress, Vanaheim is a beautiful, wild garden. In this magical place of nature, gods like Freya understand the deep. Then we drop down from the sky to the middle tier, to our home called Midgard. To the gods, we humans are just a small village to be protected from danger. But we are surrounded by a massive, restless ocean, where the world's serpents, and just across those dark, jagged peaks is Jotunheim, the barren. These giant creatures are not necessarily evil, but they represent Ra, and they are the storm that threatens to knock down the walls of our civilization. Now, we go underground, deep in the cavernous caves of Svartalfheim. They care only for the craft, forging the most powerful weapons in existence. It is here that the dwarven brothers crafted Thor's legendary hammer, Mjolnir, and Odin's spear, Gungnir, carved from the very wood of Yggdrasil. But even deeper than them, at the very bottom of the roots, lies Helheim. It is a cold, quiet place for those who died of old age or sickness. This pale underworld is ruled by Hel, half-beautiful woman, half-skeletal corpse. In the harsh north, death was not a punishment, but a long, misty rest. But this cosmic balance is not eternal. Shrouded in prophecy is Ragnarok, the twilight of the gods. It is a cataclysmic battle of fire and ice where giants and gods clash, and the world's serpent rises. The universe is consumed in flames, yet, from those ashes, a new green earth will rise. And the cycle will begin again, as the story continues. So, who keeps it all together? At the foot of the tree sit the Norns. These 3 women weave the glowing threads of fate for every god, giant, and human. They remind us that every spark of fire and block of ice is part of one story. It is a story that is still being written, thread by thread, every single day. This is the 9 realms, and the branches go much deeper than this. But how does anyone actually get between these realms? That's where the Bifrost comes in, a bridge made of pure light, arching from Midgard all the way up to Asgard's gates. It burns red at the edges, hot enough that no ordinary being could ever cross it. And standing guard at the end of it, day and night, is Heimdall. He doesn't sleep. He can hear grass growing on the other side of the world and see a bird flying 100 miles away. Nothing crosses that bridge without him knowing. He's not just a gatekeeper, he's the alarm system for the entire universe. Now, up in Asgard, there's one hall that gets talked about more than any other, Valhalla. This is where the bravest warriors go after they fall in battle. Not all of them, only the ones judged worthy. Half go to Odin's hall, the other half to Freya's field. In Valhalla, they don't just rest. Every single day, they fight each other, they die, and by nightfall, they're alive again. They feast on roasted boar and drink mead like nothing happened. Why? Because Odin isn't just rewarding them, he's training an army. And that army has one job waiting for it in the future, a battle bigger than anything that's come before. Speaking of things to come, you can't talk about fate in this world without talking about Loki's children. Loki isn't fully Aesir, and neither are his kids, and that made the gods nervous from the start. There's Fenrir, a wolf that grew so fast and so strong the gods had to trick him just to chain him down. There's Jormungandr, a serpent so massive he wraps completely around Midgard, biting his own tail at the bottom of the ocean. And there's Hel, yes, the same Hel who rules the realm of the dead. 3 children, 3 creatures the gods feared enough to banish to the edges of existence. And every single one of them has a role to play when everything finally comes crashing down. Because here's the thing about Norse mythology, it doesn't pretend the story goes on forever. There's an ending already written, and everyone knows it's coming. It's called Ragnarok. Fenrir breaks his chains, Jormungandr rises from the sea, the armies of Asgard march out to meet them, one final time. Odin faces the wolf, Thor faces the serpent, and by the end of it, most of the gods you've just met gone. It's not a footnote in this mythology. It's the whole point. Every hall, every feast, every battle in Valhalla, it's all preparation for this one day. But here's what people miss, Ragnarok isn't really the end. After the fire and the flood, the world doesn't just disappear. A new earth rises out of the sea, green and empty. A couple of humans, hidden safely in the branches of Yggdrasil the whole time, step out to start again. Even some of the gods return. It's not a story about destruction, it's a story about cycles. Fire, ice, creation, collapse, and creation again. The Norse didn't fear the end, they just accepted it was part of the design. So next time you look at a tree, a storm, or even just the ocean, remember, in this world, all of it was alive with meaning. Gods walking among giants, fate woven thread by thread, an ending everyone was racing toward, and somehow, still fighting for. This is Norse mythology, and we've barely scratched the surface of these ancient tales. If you want me to go deeper into any of these, Loki, Ragnarok, Valhalla, let me know in the comments. Because there is a lot more where this came from.